thank you so much for having me. It's really kind of you. I was saying very early on when I met with Bronwyn that when to my diagnosis, a lady wrote from Australia wrote for our UK magazine when I was just 15 years old, and I remember feeling so inspired, thinking, "Wow, I can't believe someone from all that way across the world, has the same condition as me." So this is a lovely moment to be able to speak to you guys in return. So, as mentioned, yep, I have Addison's disease. I was diagnosed when I was 15 years old. I've actually had a birthday since I sent over that bio to you guys. So I can now say that I've had Addison's disease for 20 years, which is nuts. I live in the UK and I work for the Addison's Disease Self-Help Group, which is our version of your group, essentially. And it all started by volunteering and has gone from there. So just a bit about our charity in case this is the first time you've heard about us. So we are 41 years young. Last year was our 40-year anniversary, and we were set up by the lady you can see on your screen here, Dina, after she could find no information following her own diagnosis of Addison's disease. And circled on there is her medic alert bracelet, something I'm sure you're all very familiar with. So, as we say, we may be rare, but we have a large reach. And I think that's why I wanted to put these stats on the screen, because sometimes we can all feel quite lonely and think, oh, it's just me that's got this condition, no one else. But when we all club together, there's a lot of us. We have 33,000 social media followers, and that's international. Direct members, we have over 2,000, and you can be an international member if you wish as well. And then things like, our awareness gifts, to be able to say they've been used 6.9 million times. You think, well, that's a lot of people out there who want to use those. The most popular page on our website is the sick day rules page, which shows to us the kind of education and more information we need as people with the condition. And I'll go more into the different countries that use our resources as well. But on the left, we're very lucky to be supported by a fantastic clinical advisory panel. And the head of our clinical advisory panel is a gentleman called Professor John Wass from Oxford. And he has been instrumental to our resources over the years. Oh, and my screen has frozen. That's never a good thing, is it? Here we go. Flick through. So this is when I want to say I might be speaking to you from the UK, but we support each other internationally. So these are the top 20 countries that visited our website. So you can see that you guys in Australia, you're number 4, nearly made the top 3. But again, I just wanted to illustrate this is the range of people that communicate across our social media and how all of our resources and information can be for everyone, because at the end of the day, Addison's is Addison's. No matter where you live, it's the same condition. It's the treatment and management that is different, isn't it? But there are those shared experiences that just run across everything. And here is some words that our members described us when we did our last impact report. So, useful, helpful, life-changing, supportive, confidence. To me, confidence is one of the big ones. And this is our little statement here. So we envisage a world where Addison's disease and adrenal insufficiency are recognised early and managed effectively so that anyone affected can live confidently and thrive. Something I'm sure we'd all agree on, no matter where we live. And we do this through our 3 aims of support, connect, and advance. And so the patient voice, that's how does it feel? And again, I wanted to share this because I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to these feelings. So when people were diagnosed through COVID, that was it. I've learned everything from your website. People saying I had no confidence in the sick day rules. It was impossible to get hold of anyone. Now I can jump on the online forum and ask away. It's amazing reaching people who just get it. And then, of course, people who given the emergency injection and no other information. And that's why we're here. And am I a ticking time bomb? That's one I hear on the social media a lot. I've run the social media account for 10 years now. when I add up my volunteer role before I took it on in my job. And that's people just want to talk to someone who understands steroids. The one that means a lot to me is the fact that someone said that the ADSHG has given me the tools to take my life back. And that picture up there is actually us at a recent race in London supporting our fundraisers, which was a lovely moment. So, what can we help you support you guys in? What international events can you come along to? Well, the fantastic thing is we do a lot of stuff online. So, like I can be with you guys today without having to get on a flight. Um, Addison's Disease Day is coming up. So, we have some online events I can directly signpost you to, which is exciting. So, Addison's Disease Day is obviously international. It covers adrenal insufficiency as well, so secondary and tertiary. It's just getting a snappy title is a harder for the old hashtag. And because the sick day rules, like I said, are our most popular inquiry, our most popular page on our website, we're doing a sick day rules webinar with Aldons, who is a fantastic endocrine nurse specialist. And here is a picture of him when he actually attended one of our events and did some live injection training with us, which I understand you guys do as well. I did do I was like, what time will it be for you guys though? So if you're up at 4 a.m., you're welcome to join live, but I wanted to let you know that it will be recorded. So it will go out on our YouTube channel after the event. But if you'd like to sign up still through the link on our website, then you'll receive the information about it, and we can contact you directly about it when the link goes live. So that means you won't have to like keep checking back. And another online session we hold, which we welcome international people to attend. This one's for healthcare professionals. So if any of you are paramedics yourselves or healthcare professionals yourself and also have the condition, we have a lot of that in our community. It's always surprising. We run these paramedics training sessions, which have been a real game changer for helping people in the UK get better treatment. So if you are, but these are for healthcare professionals, I should say. And we just caveat it at the start that obviously the NHS element is individual to us in the UK, but the treatment you need when you are in adrenal crisis is the same. So, and we run through the signs, the symptoms, we run through case studies and stuff like that. So please do pass on to any paramedics you know in Australia. They are welcome to come along. And they are free, I should say. Both of these sessions are free. They are funded thanks to our amazing fundraisers, and that is how we're able to do what we do in the UK. It's down to our fundraisers. And more on some international education we do. We speak at the European Society of Endocrinology at what is called the Patient's Voice, which I thought might be encouraging for you to hear. That, you know, as part of conferences now, the patient's voice is becoming increasingly embedded and medics are interested in it. And it's described as where patient experience meets clinical science. Again, we do these virtually. We haven't been able to afford the plane tickets to get us there to present in person, but we can present virtually all the same, and we have done so for the past 5 years now. And we also took part, and I was on the committee for arranging the Adrenal Patient Forum, which covered daily living as well as adrenal crisis prevention. This had representatives from patient support groups around the world, but also just some amazing endocrinologists from around the world. So there was a presentation on daily living and adrenal crisis prevention from both a medic and then a person with the condition themselves. And then there was a Q&A at the end. And all of those recordings are available to watch back. And honestly, if you've got a question you've always wanted to ask, I bet it came up during that session. So do watch back. So the resources we offer on our web, this is a clip of our website, very similar probably to your own. And we have I've put on here that we have the homepage, but then it's hard to navigate a website, isn't it? So we have an A to Z of resources. And if you just type that into the search bar at the top, you know, if you've got a question on fludrocortisone, for example, because that came up quite a lot, I noticed in the questions, you know, that will bring up the articles we have on fludrocortisone. But importantly, our website is there for both healthcare professionals and members of the community. So if you're looking for information for your healthcare professional, I saw that dentists came up, for example. We have information on for that and dental procedures that you can download and hand over to your dentist. And these are just some of the resources we provide. So notes for nurses, surgical guidelines, fasting with adrenal insufficiency, adrenal crisis guidelines. Also, like the your appointments one, the medical summary one, like that's helpful for just sitting down and helping you prep ahead of an endocrinology appointment, thinking what are the top three things I want to get out of this? What are my top three symptoms? We nudge you in that direction. So, of course, yes, some of these are going to be tailored to the UK system, but ultimately a hospital sticker that says you're steroid dependent, that works no matter where you are. And all of these you can print yourself at home. So again, wherever you are. And then this is a screenshot from our online forum. These are some of our forum buddies. Again, this is open internationally. So if you just want to go on and have a chat with people in more of a private way, of course, there's loads of Facebook groups and stuff like that. But that's linked obviously to your Facebook, where people can find out, a bit more about you, which some people aren't comfortable with based on their jobs or things like that. Our online forum has these amazing monitors and there is a wealth of information on there. But what we find people are really keen on is the blogs and the personal stories. So please do check out our blog. Again, I saw someone put in the chat that they'd recently been diagnosed with Crohn's. We've got a fantastic story from a gentleman called Liam who's got Crohn's and Addison's, and he talks about how it affects him. And so the stories range from just like, wow, I can't believe someone with Addison's has done that. Like there's a very popular TV show here in the UK called Gardener's World. And one of our members who has Addison's showcased a garden at Gardener's World, and that's lovely. And that's just nice to hear. And then it ranges from, to Hannah's story where how she manages having moved from the UK abroad, and Ingrid, who, due to her bone density going down from years of having Addison's and being not on the best dose of steroids, so impacting her, took up exercise at the age of 80. So, I think there's something for everyone in our blogs. And we have a campaign called #ShareYourKit. Again, this is our version of the emergency injection kits. Like you guys, there isn't one that is prescribed. The second you get Addison's, you don't get given a beautiful box with everything inside, all the instructions, off you trot. Nope, the charities have had to create it, haven't we? And to help publicize that and get out there that, there's lots of different ways you do it. You can put it together yourself, or you can get one of your charity boxes. In the UK, obviously, we've done the same, our charity boxes. So if you do use social media, just search #ShareYourKit and you'll see loads of examples. And we've got our blog as well, so you can visit our website and see all the different examples on there. And also, if you would like to submit your Share Your Kit, please do. Sam sent us his when he was on holiday and stuff like that. So that's great. People seeing it. I call them see your injection kit in the wild, show that people use them. And then in terms of some more just FAQ articles we have on our website, we have one about getting sharps into venues, which also covers in the same sense airports and things like that. Children and young people, of course, because it's different if you're diagnosed when you're younger, and school support and how you can explain it at a younger age, and blogs from younger people. So if you are a parent or a younger person yourself, you can see people more your age and how they've come to terms with it and explained it to their schools. And then hot weather and travel tips. So, I mean, don't get us started on our favourite salty snacks. If I put that out there as a question on social media, it kicks off this in a positive way. So many people write all of those kind of things. And then obviously the fludrocortisone impact on that. So check that out if you've got more questions. But when I was speaking to you guys ahead of this, one of the things that I mentioned was probably going to be the most interest was the research that's going on currently in the UK. But things might be going on in the UK that we're reporting on, but we're actually they're happening, they're happening internationally because nothing gets done. With one person does it, everything. I can't say that enough. From our clinical advisory panel to the people that support us to our members, it is a team effort. That's how we've managed to get where we are. So the big four, I would say, at the moment are EFMIDI, which is described as cortisol replacement. Is there a better way? And that is a new type of hydrocortisone, and I will go into which more closely mimics the current circadian rhythm. And I've actually got a few more slides on that because that's the one that's coming soonest. Soonest, that was bad English, wasn't it? But you know what I mean. Of course, the EpiPen, but it's a pre-filled syringe auto-injector. So a better version of the emergency injection. That is something our community has been crying out for absolute years, hasn't it? Because that's just such an obvious gap and clinical gap that needs to be filled. The pharmaceutical company that's the farthest along with that is Solution Medical, and we've been working with them. And again, our research grants were able to help fund their research, which is such a privilege. But there are other pharmaceutical companies working on this in the UK. It's not just Solution Medical. So I hope that gives everyone some hope in thinking, okay, people are taking an interest in this now. There's a lot to be done. There's a lot of research to be done. It's expensive, but people are interested. But if you'd like to know more about where Solution Medical are up to, then we have a blog article on our website. They are working on 2 treatments. One, a 3-stepped pre-filled syringe, which is the smaller one you can see on your screen. And that has got a lower dose of hydrocortisone in it. But still a higher dose. So if you can feel yourself going down, but don't necessarily think you need the full 100, then that's there as an option. And then the actual 2-step auto injector, which is the full-on auto injector for adrenal crisis. Of course, the question that's going to be is, when are these available? Where in the world will they be available? How much will they cost? Understandably, Solution Medical aren't answering all those questions because that is a forever changing situation right now. So they say currently Solution are not sharing anticipated dates on project completion. But having worked with Julia and the team, and if you read our blog article, they're not dismissing. Please don't take that as a dismissive answer. There's so many questions on there that they answer, including the will this be available around the world situation. So please take a deep dive into that blog and be reassured that fantastic people are taking a research. They've acknowledged that this is a huge gap and a huge patient safety issue, and are working on improvements. So hurrah. And then two more, which are taking place in Bristol, if anyone is familiar. Is a wearable device to measure cortisol, which is known as Eurhythm. So that's obviously another question we get a lot, isn't it? Diabetics have their fantastic sensors. For us, it's a guessing game when we're unwell. Is there any way of making that better? Equally, is there any way of when we're having the initial tests, which here we call a day curve? I don't know if that's what you call them as well. When you have your hydrocortisone taken every couple of hours, and that can be how they initially try and get your baseline dose. Those are actually being phased out. They're not used as much in the UK because it's considered like that you're in a hospital, it doesn't replicate your day-to-day life enough. It's expensive to do. So instead, the doctors put you on a standard dose based on your gender, activity levels, and weight, and then go on it based on symptoms from therein, rather than keeping you in hospital for a day and taking bloods every couple of hours and seeing what it reads back. Which is where Eurhythm comes in. So Eurhythm is a wearable device that you would carry on you, and it takes your bloods throughout the day whilst you are going about your daily activities. So you'd wear it at work, you'd wear it whilst you're getting dinner ready in the evening. So it's actually getting a better idea of your day-to-day life. And wouldn't that be fantastic to really see what happens as our cortisol? Wear it to the gym if you're a gym person. How to get that idea of what our cortisol is doing during the day, and then that's the first stage. And then hopefully in the future, it would then come down to a more diabetic style device where we could just go ping what's my cortisol level? But that requires a lot more follow-up studies and a lot more funding and things like that. But the team are working on it and they are collating and preparing data. And I've actually met the team in Bristol and held the device and stuff like that. It was very cool. So yeah, so again, they're working on it. That's going to come a popular answer. I'm going to be like, people are working on it. But as you know, after all of these years of there being next to no changes in treatment for our condition, isn't it? It's lovely to know that people are finally working on it. And then, of course, the cortisol infusion pump, another way of getting your cortisol replacement in a different way, like Efmody is a different style of tablet. The pump is obviously different again. Um, so as Stephanie mentioned, she put up the nice guidelines and our feedback comment. That was that was me with the clinic with our clinical advisory panel. So we were actually very disappointed that the nice guidelines, which is the national treatment guidelines here in the UK, dismissed it as a not a treatment option. Um, because and they actually said it due to infection risks on infusion sites, even though the infection risks is exactly the same as for diabetics infusion sites. So that argument doesn't stand up, unfortunately. But pulsatile cortisol infusion pumps are still used in the UK, so it's important that they're pulsatile because that's to mimic the circadian rhythm more. Our circadian rhythm isn't a all day long; it goes like beep 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 beep. So the pulsatile mimics that better. There are also continuous cortisol infusion pumps, which do just deliver you cortisol constantly all day long at a certain level. But the pulsatile is actually the research that is undertaken for pulsatile is for people with Addison's. Whereas the continuous one at this stage is almost a bit more of a let's just get the cortisol in you kind of vibes. But it is still fantastic and it still is very good for people who have multiple health conditions and standard cortisol replacement treatment no longer works for them. I can completely vouch for that because I'm actually on an infusion pump myself. So regular cortisol therapy in the forms of hydrocortisone tablet 3 times a day worked excellent for me for the first 5 years of my diagnosis. But then I got other health conditions and cortisol replacement no longer worked in that way and I had to go on an infusion pump. I have been on both the continuous infusion pump and the pulsatile infusion pump and an NHS research trial for the infusion pump. So, yes, so I can vouch for the fact that they very much exist. They are very much used. And they end up being cheaper if you are stopping hospital admissions. You know, any hospital admission is immediately very, very expensive. And if you have one hospital admission, it pays for the infusion pump for a year. But proving that and getting the data on that to doctors isn't easy. So on all 4 of these, if you've got more questions, we have what we call behind the research Q&A articles with the researchers themselves. So we literally put to them the most asked questions we have from our community as well as ourselves into these blog articles with links to research to further research articles for the Eurhythm. There's a video that the team did for us. So if you've got questions about these, please take a dive in. And then I just wanted to say, looking to the future, there is more research taking place. There's research into management apps. There's loads of medication apps out there, aren't there, on iPhones. It's very much a 21st century solution that we should be using to help people better understand their condition. So a couple of researchers in the UK are working on management apps, improved diagnostics, and also even adrenal regenerative therapies. But again, in the future. So Efmody, the cortisol replacement, just to touch on that, because again, when I spoke with your lovely charity ahead of this, we thought this would be the most interesting one as it's the furthest along. So Efmody is hydrocortisone, but in a modified release hard capsule. This is different to other types of steroids like prednisolone, dexamethasone, which are also slow release, but the compound is different. This is a hydrocortisone compound within it. So here I've got 2 graphs. The red is obviously showing a person who has working adrenals, their cortisol throughout the day. And then on standard hydrocortisone, we take our people take the tablet when they first wake up, don't they, to get that peak. Slowly goes down until your lunchtime dose to get your peak back up, down, peak, and then trail off. But the main problem is this pre-dawn rise here, the what bits that shaded in blue, and the fact that we don't get that, do we? We're still fast asleep. In the UK, people that really struggle with this, they will take an extra dose at 3 a.m. and go back to sleep so that they are sort of getting that to try and push that peak up so that the 6, 7 a.m. isn't quite so horrible for them. But not everyone needs to do that. Some people are completely fine. They wake up, they're like, yeah, I feel groggy, but take my tablet and I'm fine. But for people we find, especially with multiple health conditions, this does not work for them necessarily, and they have a poor quality of life as a knock-on. FMD is taken in what is known as a toothbrush regime. So you take it at bedtime when you're doing your teeth, and then when you wake up when you're doing your teeth, which is a nice way of helping people remember it. And it's got this hard capsule, so it releases slower, basically, is the easiest way. And therefore, at the moment, what is showing is that it gives you that pre-dawn rise, and in general more closely mimics the green to the red here, more closely mimics your cortisol. So that's very exciting for people that struggle on hydrocortisone. Have I got another? No. I was wondering if I had a slide on the timelines. So clinical trials have taken place on people with Addison's disease. They are crunching the data, is the easiest way to say it. One of the top endocrinologists leading this is one of our medical trustees on our clinical advisory panel. So please have a read of the blog update on this if you've got more questions. Obviously, at this stage, I can't answer like when's it going to come to Australia or anything like that, because I can't even answer when it's going to come to the UK yet. But I just, again, wanted you to know when this research is done and it's out there, it can help everybody. And then, yeah, so then talking about the patient experience more, what do we hear in the UK as the biggest things? It's that people underestimate that there are two triggers for our low cortisol. There's the emotional and the physical. And people just don't necessarily realize the impact that it can be both that affects your cortisol. Uh, for example, when I was younger, I ended up having an adrenal crisis on a plane because after the stress of school exams and things like that. And then, of course, but the more obvious physical stress triggers are things like gastroenteritis. Sorry, I can't pronounce, too early in the morning for me, with vomiting and diarrhea. So in the UK, we try to publicise these different examples, put them in real life situations for people so that they can relate and apply the situations to themselves. And also educate your friends and family. Sometimes a real life example is the easiest way, isn't it, of saying this is what it's like. So we share the patient experience when they need emergency treatment, how to communicate your needs in an emergency, the fact that everybody is different. Some people just take their tablets and they're absolutely fine. And they really wouldn't, they go, what's the problem? You wouldn't know I have Addison's. And that is awesome. That is what we want for everyone. But everyone's bodies are different. For some people, they really, really struggle. It affects absolutely every part of their life. They can't work, and things like that. So it's really important to represent both sides of that so that nobody feels like they're doing something wrong or that they're alone. It's not, it's your own body, and you've just got to do what you've got to do. So we say, listen to your body. And that also, I always emphasize that a poorly managed adrenal crisis can have an emotional as well as physical consequences. So if you've been through an adrenal crisis, like, I'm so sorry, and it's horrible. So always be kind to yourself in your recovery. And the biggest lesson learned that we see in the UK from people going into an adrenal crisis or becoming unwell is check your emergency injection kit before traveling. Always have more than one of the medication. So, for example, when I was on that plane and I went into adrenal crisis, one of my vials had broken. If I hadn't had a spare, I wouldn't have survived that flight. So, always carry spares, always check. I always have extra medication. You never know when you're going to need to have sick day dose. Keep it in your hand luggage, obviously, if you're traveling. Carry copies of the adrenal crisis guidelines and emergency card. again, the treatment is the same no matter where you live. You need extra hydrocortisone. It's written in medical language, so we have options for that. Educate those close to you, whether that's sharing the blogs, or we have a YouTube channel with videos as well, so they might find that helpful. So just be as confident as you can. And when you're in hospital in the UK, we find you have to be over prepared. So this is actually me after in hospital after I had kidney stones, which obviously no amount of self emergency injections at home is going to unfortunately keep you out of hospital with kidney stones. You're going to end up in there. And my mum actually took this when I was asleep. I didn't realise that the nursing team put the hospital folder on my lap. That was how much they were like, we need to identify that this individual is steroid dependent. All of the materials they used were materials from our charity. So if I hadn't gone into hospital with my little self-made hospital folder and all of that information, I wouldn't have had that information to publicise my steroid dependency. So carry your latest hospital letter, including a list of current medications, spare copies. You hand them out willy-nilly and then the doctor disappears. So you need to have multiple. Carry the emergency guidelines and the card. If you have a little bedside table when you finally become an inpatient, you can prop it up on the side, which means that, in the handover and changes from nurses, they'll see the steroid dependency. Wear medical alert jewelry, absolutely critical if you're unable to communicate your needs yourself anymore. People can see that you've got it. Have extra medication in case of hospital delays. Around here at the moment, our healthcare system's really struggling post-COVID. And obviously we are time critical, our medication. So if the nurses get delayed on ward rounds by a couple of hours, that can have a massive impact on your health. So have it yourself so you can self-administer if needed. And in general, make your rare condition seen. So these are some of the options of steroid identification that we have in the UK. Medical alert jewelry, so wristbands, emergency card. You can use the ones that we have in the UK and have them on your phone or print them off yourself and cut them out and put them in your wallet. That was what we did before we had printed copies of them. We encouraged everyone, you just print them off and make them into little cards yourself, a bit of DIY. Sure, as people living with this rare condition, we're all very used to taking our own initiative and making it work for us. But you can keep it as a screenshot on your phone, and we have that as a downloadable situation on our website if you go on the emergency card section of our website. And then the emergency injection kit, #ShareYourKit. And then recently, car seatbelt straps. That's become very popular. That's not something we sell on our online shop or anything like that. When people here in the UK use Etsy, a great online platform where people, they make these things. So yeah, if you're someone that travels a lot, a car seatbelt strap saying that you're steroid dependent, you might find that comforting.